The lights inside the America's Got Talent Theater dimmed as a small figure walked nervously onto the massive stage, his footsteps barely audible against the roar of anticipation filling the room. He was only 10 years old, a boy from a quiet town in the Philippines, standing beneath blinding spotlights that had intimidated grown adults before him. Clutched in his hands was a microphone that seemed almost too large for his small frame, and yet his eyes reflected something far bigger than fear, an unbreakable dream. As the camera zoomed in, the audience noticed the mix of innocence and determination on his face, the kind that comes from a child who has known hardship but refuses to be defined by it. Simon Cowell leaned forward slightly, arms crossed, his expression skeptical but curious. The boy introduced himself softly, his accent gentle, explaining that he had traveled thousands of miles with the hope of changing his family's life through music. He spoke about singing in school hallways, at family gatherings, and sometimes just to drown out the noise of the world around him. The judges listened, the crowd quieted, and in that fragile moment before the music began, no one could have predicted that they were about to witness one of the most unforgettable auditions in AGT history. When the first note left the boy's lips, the atmosphere inside the theater shifted instantly. His voice carried a depth that felt impossible for someone so young, rich, emotional, and hauntingly controlled. Each lyric poured out as if it had been lived, not learned, resonating with a pain and hope that transcended age. The audience sat frozen, eyes wide, mouths slightly open, as the sound wrapped around the room like a wave. Simon Cowell's posture changed almost immediately. His skeptical expression softened, replaced by disbelief. Howie Mandel glanced at his fellow judges, silently asking the same question everyone else was thinking. Where did this voice come from? As the song built, the boy closed his eyes, surrendering completely to the music. He sang not to impress, but to survive, to tell a story shaped by sacrifice, dreams, and unwavering belief. The purity of his tone and the sincerity of his delivery struck something deep within the hearts of everyone listening. By the time he reached the chorus, sniffles could be heard throughout the theater, and even the camera caught Simon blinking repeatedly, fighting emotion he never expected to feel from a child standing before him. As the performance continued, the boy's confidence grew, his voice soaring effortlessly across the highest notes while maintaining flawless control. Each phrase landed with precision, yet felt raw and real, as if the song had chosen him rather than the other way around. The audience slowly began to rise to their feet, one by one, drawn upward by the power of the moment. Tears streamed down faces young and old, strangers united by the emotional force radiating from the stage. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair now, shaking his head in disbelief, a rare smile breaking through his usually guarded demeanor. This wasn't just talent, it was something extraordinary, something unteachable. When the final note rang out, hanging delicately in the air before fading into silence, there was a brief pause, a heartbeat of stunned quiet. Then the theater erupted. Thunderous applause crashed like a storm, cheers echoing from every corner, the sound so loud it seemed to lift the boy off his feet. He stood there, breathing heavily, eyes wide, as if unsure whether what he just experienced was real or a dream. The judges rose to their feet, clapping with genuine awe, and Simon Cowell was among them. When the applause finally settled, Simon spoke first, his voice unusually soft. He admitted that he had not expected much when the boy walked onto the stage, but what he had just heard completely changed his perception. He praised the child not only for his incredible voice, but for the emotional intelligence it took to deliver such a performance. "You don't hear voices like that very often," Simon said, visibly moved. Sofia Vergara wiped away tears as she called the audition pure magic, while Howie Mandel struggled to find words strong enough to capture what he had just felt. The boy listened quietly, hands trembling, his eyes shimmering with tears as praise washed over him. He nodded politely, whispering thank yous, still processing the reality that these global icons were speaking about him with such admiration. The judges asked about his family, his life back home, and his dreams. When he spoke about wanting to help his parents and inspire other children like him, The audience responded with another wave of applause, louder and more heartfelt than before. Then came the moment that changed everything. Simon glanced toward the golden buzzer, the iconic symbol of instant dreams coming true. The crowd sensed what was coming and began to chant, the energy inside the theater reaching a fever pitch. Simon paused, letting the tension build, before turning back to the boy with a look of absolute certainty. He spoke about how rare it is to find true authenticity, especially at such a young age, and how moments like this are the reason the show exists. With a deep breath, Simon stood, walked forward, and pressed the golden buzzer. Gold confetti exploded from above, raining down like stardust as the boy gasped, covering his mouth in disbelief. He fell to his knees, overwhelmed, tears flowing freely as the audience screamed and applauded wildly. The judges rushed to the stage, embracing him as the music swelled, and for a few breathtaking seconds, time seemed to stop. This wasn't just a buzzer, it was a promise, a doorway opening to a future he had only dared to imagine. As the confetti settled and the boy looked out at the sea of cheering faces, his life was forever changed. Back home in the Philippines, his family watched through tears, knowing that their child's voice had crossed oceans and touched millions. This golden buzzer moment quickly spread across the world, shared endlessly on social media, inspiring people from every background. Viewers didn't just see a talented singer, they saw hope, resilience, and the power of dreams nurtured against all odds. Simon Cowell later reflected that this audition reminded him why he fell in love with music in the first place. Because sometimes a single voice can break through every wall we build around our hearts. For the 10-year-old boy, this was only the beginning of a journey that promised challenges, growth, and unimaginable opportunities. But no matter where the road would lead, one truth was already clear. On that night under those lights, a child from the Philippines didn't just shock Simon Cowell. He reminded the world that greatness knows no age, no borders, and no limits.